Hey YouTube, please excuse my lighting throughout this video. I did not put much thought into that, so it is a little dim in my house today. So this is a rug that I made yesterday. I let it dry for 24 hours for the glue, and I'll show you how to do the backing. You will need some felt and your razor or shaver, clippers, whatever you call them. These are dog clippers I got from Amazon, and I have a little brush to get all the flurries out. Also have duckbill scissors, super sharp pointed scissors. You will also need glue sticks. I have short ones and long ones. Probably use a long one since it lasts a little longer. Also, I have gloves for the hot glue. You will need a hot glue gun. I have this yarn scraper. Not really sure what it is called. It's like a lint roller, sort of. Also, this is for the razor to kind of level out how much I'm cutting off, as well as a real lint roller. That's the thing I was talking about, that's kind of like a carpet cleaner. And some Gorilla Spray glue. Oh, and this is twill that's in that in this little clear bag for my border of the rug. And sorry y'all, this is super lazy. Like, I wasn't coming close to the camera or nothing. This is one of those videos, it was like, if I don't make it now, I never will. And I already made, oh, these are tweezers. I already made my how to make a rug video like 6 months ago. So please forgive me. I was just trying to get this video out there. So start by cutting out your rugs. I tried to leave about an inch of a border most, if possible. Sometimes, depending on how close I tuft things together, I get a little less or a little more space, but it makes it easier for the method that I use to do the backing. Some people trim it off completely to the yarn. So some people cut off the burlap completely and they are right on the perimeter of their yarn where it starts, but I like to leave about half an inch max. An inch is honestly a little too long. And it can be sloppy, doesn't have to be completely perfect. And I'm just focusing on the big hexagon in this video. I did make mini mug rugs for my coworkers, but it's the same method. So start by using your super sharp scissors and cut little flaps every inch or so. And I'm cutting right up into the carpet. Sometimes I even nick the carpet a little bit, or the yarn, whatever you call it. Try to make the space between your cuts as even as possible. It just makes the next step a little easier. And I'm not cutting this fast, for real, I sped it up. So after you have all the flaps cut about an inch apart, you will want to take them and press them forcefully into the glue. Now the glue still is a bit tacky, still a little sticky. If you wait more than 24 hours for your glue to dry, then you won't have as much success as getting the flaps to fold over easily without excess adhesive. But because my glue was only drying for about 12 to 24 hours, it still was pretty sticky on the side. And again, sorry about my lighting, my focus, the camera probably could have cleaned it off a bit, so it's a little grainy for the video, but you get the concept. And sometimes I do flap up a little bit, just depending on how much the glue is distributed throughout the backing of the rug. So you'll see me go back and press some down a bit more. I would not necessarily recommend adding fresh carpet glue to do this step because it takes forever to dry and it's super gummy and sticky when it's not dry. So it'll just be like a soupy mess, sorta. So now I take my felt and I try to line it up with like the shape of the corner, so I save as much extra felt as possible. Like I won't put this rug smack in the middle of a big square of fresh felt. Try to line it up with the borders as much as humanly possible. My rug is a mess because all the extra felt and burlap and yarn colors from each of the mini mug rugs are just sticking to the front of my rug, but I'll clean that up later, so don't worry about it. So now we are trimming the felt to the rug. I'm leaving about half an inch of a window around the perimeter of the rug. And my cutting is weird. This was shaped so funny, so I had to kind of just get it how I could. Okay, now we flip that back over. And I'm plugging up my hot glue gun to let it warm up. But let's focus on the Gorilla Glue adhesive. So this is my favorite brand to use. People describe it as like you want the webs to connect on either side of your rug. So I'll be spraying 1/2 of the carpet glue adhesive with my Gorilla Glue spray, and I'll be spraying the other half of my felt. I did have a clog in my Gorilla Glue, so you'll see me with my scissors trying to get that clog out a bit. But you just spray it a nice even layer. Make sure no pets are around. Try to open windows. Ideally, I would do this like on a patio or outside, but I don't have a patio at this apartment, so just working with what I can. Ventilation is important. And some people let it sit for about a minute to kind of get tacky and, you know, increase the success of the stickiness. But I'm a little impatient, so I just spray both sides, fan it a few seconds, literally a few seconds, and stick it on. I haven't had any problems with the felt peeling or coming up. Try to smooth that out as flat as possible. I like to use gray because I feel that the lint and the dirt and the dust on the ground is not as visible with your gray felt, whereas I used black before and it's extremely noticeable, like just like a linty black couch or cover. You can see everything on it. So now that my hot glue gun is warmed up, I am lifting up the corners of that excess 1/2 inch of felt, and I am just getting the corners of those flaps that I folded over. So they're already pressed down into the carpet adhesive. However, I want them, it's like the back of that flap is exposed to, like, I don't know, the burlap. The back of that flap is exposed to the felt, so I want to make sure that those ends stick together. So use as much hot glue as you need. Luckily I didn't need that much, but definitely will help make sure you have a seamless transition between your felt and rug if you get those borders nicely. Then I flip it over and I trim off the excess felt. Sorry, my brain, I have to okay, I'm using felt, I'm using burlap, I'm using carpet. You know, I'm trying to make sure I don't jumble up the terms, so excuse me if I'm talking slow. Flip the rug over once you feel as though you have a nice clean cut from the front end. Flip it to the back and I clean it up a bit more to make as straight or as seamless of a transition between where the carpet ends and where the felt begins. It's not going to be perfect, but that is why we have our twill tape or twill ribbon that we will be using later. So I got these scissors from Amazon. I will link the items below, as much or as many as I can find in my shopping history. And when you do this, try not to cut off too much of the burlap. It is very easy to cut through, you know, what you've glued, or cut through the yarn on the back, but you don't want too much of a gap between the felt and the carpet ending, because then your twill tape won't cover up that gap as well as it could. And this is for my sister. It's for free. So, I mean, I could have did a little better, but it also took me like 6 months to make her rug, so I know she'd be happy with whatever. So now I am just taking that twill black tape that I mentioned, and I am doing a thin layer of hot glue on the exact line where the felt and the carpet meet, and I'm layering the twill tape right on top of that. So with the black, I might have to switch to gray or white. I haven't quite decided. Unfortunately, with the black, the clear glue sometimes gets chunkied up. Like I'm using the back of tweezers to press down, and I also have my gloves so that I don't burn my hands, because it's so easy to burn it, and the hot glue really cakes up. But I've noticed that the, I don't know, web of hot glue sometimes tracks and, you know, seeps through, or I don't know, it's just hard to make the hot glue as clean as possible. Some rugs I do better than the others. I'll be honest, this one I kind of just was a bit impatient. It was a lot of corners and a lot to do. Sometimes I have like a circle, or I don't know. Not saying the lines were hard. It was just, I don't like the backing. I hate, and let me just be honest, I hate doing backing. This is why I didn't want to make this video. This is why I don't put that much time and effort as I could to make it as professional looking as I would desire it to look. I know, you know, like material for the rug total is about $50 to $60 depending on how many colors you're using, and this was a free rug. And so, you know, I'm using super cheap product like felt and twill. But ideally, I would like to use, I really love AJ Makes her rugs. Sam made that, love her rugs. So they do really intricate backings and very clean looks. So, you know, this is definitely a beginner friendly, very affordable method, but it is, you know, may skimp on the cleanliness in some areas, whereas on the back of my rug, when I'm done, you may see, you know, some clear spots where the hot glue is. There's a lot of different methods. Yes, I would like to practice on those more, but mostly I just give out rugs for gifts, and I may sell like 1 or 2 every few months, so it's not enough, honestly, to change how I'm doing my backing for now. Now, if I get a little better, get a new idea, get more, you know, creativity on how I do my backing, then I'll definitely make an updated video. So this is your nice, affordable, beginner friendly method. So again, make sure you cover all sides of your rug with twill as clean as possible. Avoid the hot glue as much as possible. Honestly, I could probably use a little less, and that's my problem. I'm trying to use too much of the hot glue, and then the excess, as you see, is kind of gotta cut it off and blend it and scrape it so it looks a little cleaner. But I'm working on it. I honestly just started doing my backing like this. If I count it in time, it makes it seem longer than it is. So I'll say rug wise, I've only done like 7 rugs like this backing. So it's still a work in progress. So finally we are on our last strip. And please make sure you get enough hot glue sticks. You'd be surprised with how much you can potentially use during the whole process of, you know, connecting the felt to the burlap before you trim off the edges of the felt, and also covering the twill border. One thing I did not show, sometimes when there's too much of a burlap gap between the twill and the yarn, I actually hot glue some of the yarn in those gaps. I don't know if I have a good example to kind of video, but essentially if there's any gap between your twill border and your yarn, dab a little bit of glue and fold over your yarn to hide the tan or the white or whatever you're using for your backing, your burlap backing, or what's it called, monk's cloth. If it's showing, try to hide it, get creative. So then when I'm all done, I use my scissors to kind of cut off as much excess hot glue as possible, and I use my carpet scraper to kind of clean up the lint on the back of the felt. And before I deliver it or hand it off to my client or whoever, I do lint roll the back as well. That's the very last step. Here I tried to use a new method. I don't know if this will work. Can't honestly report back, but I tried to rub a little bit of water into the hot glue. In hindsight, I probably hypothetically should have used something like alcohol or Goo Gone to kind of get all the excess hot glue off. But you know, as I said, this is a work in progress. The water blended it enough for my sister, so now is when I work on the front. I'd like to trim, so like this is a hexagon, but I want the edges to be clean, right? But I like to wait until I do the twill backing so I have a nice border control of how much to trim. When I used to do the border, I used to trim the front of my rug before doing the backing, and I used to cut off way too much, and it'd be wonky and lopsided and my shape wouldn't be right. So I feel that if you do the twill backing first, you have a nice solid foundation of the back for your direction on how you should shape the front of your rug. That way it prevents you from cutting off too much, cutting off the burlap, cutting through the rug. So I always do my backing before I clean the front of my rug. And honestly, the trimming took so long. It took like an hour and a half. Believe it or not, I had a lot of blurred lines between the white and black. So I did not record it all the way, but just know that those razors and these tweezers put in some work. And this is what I'm talking about when you see me doing the edges here. I have a nice guide for ensuring I don't cut off too much of my shape and make it wonky or lopsided or what have you. And the trimming I do like. So I really love tufting the rug. I really love plucking the yarn and trimming the front. Like, I could spend hours doing that, but the backing, I hate it. I want to get it over with as soon as possible. It's so boring. Nobody sees it really. Literally, it's on the ground. So I put in the bare minimum effort, unfortunately. And again, if I think of something better or put a little more effort into it, y'all will definitely get an updated video. But until then, this is my super easy, quick, affordable way of doing backing. This is my Miss B rug for my sister Brittany with the hive honeycomb shape. It was my second time doing cursive. I'll insert some pictures of some other rugs and some other backings that I've done that are a little bit better. I was so impatient with this one. But thank y'all for watching. Really appreciate it, and I hope this helps in your tufting. Catch you in the next video.